We welcome you into this new month of December 2023. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Weekly Business Roundup. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold, and these are the highlights. Investors meet President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni at the inaugural Presidential Investors Conference. The NFT mobility project implementation has come to an end. The SNV Inclusive Diary Enterprise project, TIDE, also comes to an end. UN Women signs 2 MOUs with stakeholders to foster women economic empowerment. For all these and more, stay tuned. It's time for business. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni assured local and foreign investors of government's commitment in tackling bottlenecks and red tapes that impede investment and business growth. Now, this was at the inaugural Presidential Investor Conference organized by the Uganda Investment Authority, State House, and the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
The one-of-a-kind conference at the Kololo Independence Grounds brought together investors and key stakeholders drawn from priority sectors such as banking, commercial agriculture, manufacturing, services, information, communication and technology, among others.
Why the cost of registration?
Top on the agenda of the Presidential Investor Conference was to create a conducive investment environment for doing business in Uganda and in turn strengthen the country's position as a leading investment destination in the continent.
I want you to do what we have already done in the milk sector. Full linkage. Farm to factory, factory to market. That's what we should be, this ministry should be doing. The Uganda Investment Authority, don't just sit there registering. You are not a census officer.
Several participants from the private sector had an opportunity to introduce themselves, their enterprise, and also make a pitch.
Mustafa Alavi from Burhani Engineering. We are manufacturer of LPG cylinder, pioneer in Uganda.
What are you investing in?
LPG cylinder.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Enid Edroma. I'm with MTN Uganda.
Edith who?
Enid Edroma.
Edroma?
Yes, sir.
You are a daughter of Edroma?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are you doing?
I'm with MTN. We've been in this country from 1998.
Oh, okay, thank you.
25 years.
Political leaders, heads of government entities were on the ground to give immediate responses to the investors' issues and also highlight some of the key initiatives being spearheaded by government geared at boosting investment in the country.
We are upscaling the digitization of government. We are automating all the public service delivery systems so that we can reduce human interface and also be able to enhance transparency.
We are developing a scheme called the Personnel Certification Scheme, and we're going to run this scheme with associations that are registered with us. What that means is that their personnel will be doing the initial assessment so that UNBS does not have to come throughout the country all the time.
In order for them to do what the customer wants, you have to look for something what we call kitu kidogo. Equally, if you want a power connection, again,
President Museveni acknowledged the challenges investors are grappling with and committed to amicably resolve them. They include affordable financing, solicitation in the public sector, infrastructural bottlenecks, and corruption, among others.
Because each year, $230 million through UDB. And you take small investments like this one here of 500,000. In 1 million, you handle two factories. In 10 million, you handle 20. In 100 million, you handle 200. So, and this is 1 year.
A follow-up conference is slated for early 2024.
It's a meeting of minds, but essentially it was to tell the president where the pressure points are. As PSFU, we handle 4 strategic areas. The first and most important is policy and advocacy, and we advocate for an enabling environment. And so what was being discussed today were issues to do with business environment, and it went out very well, and we are expectant that the outcome will be very good.
The country, as Uganda, the production possibility curve has got to increase. This is a term in economics that allows you to, one, watch your real GDP and watch your aggregate demand and how you create value and how you boost the economy.
We needed to send to the government players, private sector challenges, and then they were supposed to respond. And then there was supposed to be a climax where only those issues that are really biting are sent to the president, and I think that's what happened, but there are very many things. And it's true that government is constrained as much as the private sector. But the outcome was that there was a need to have another meeting, and that's why the president called for the next meeting in January, which is about 2 months away from now.
One of the key areas, of course, has been working capital, which is a bigger issue for most of the businesses. Raw materials available, the raw material suppliers needs cash. We have other people, the market is available, so meaning that the goods are able to be sold. Being in animal feeds, working capital is the most and top #1 element of the business. So for us to be able to talk to UDB face to face, to talk to private sector foundation face to face, and to give us the assurance that these things are able to happen, it is good for the country. It's adding value for the country. We're able to drive more goods and services, produce more products, where the market is better, the pricing is better. These are the things for me, it's a takeaway for me, access to credit.
Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Kampala.
The SNV Inclusive Dairy Enterprise Project, TIDE, that has been closed out, has impacted over 22,600 farmers in 130 cooperatives across southwestern Uganda through knowledge and skill empowerment. For years, Ugandan dairy farmers grappled with multitude of challenges impeding their milk productivity. Let's have a look. In a significant development for dairy farming in southwestern Uganda, the SNV Inclusive Dairy Enterprise TIDE project has successfully concluded, leaving a lasting impact on over 22,600 farmers in 130 cooperatives.
Well, as the development partners, we are always here to actually ensure that we are building on government initiatives. So if you look at dairy as a sector, it's a priority for the government. It's actually, at the moment, one of the highest income earners in the country. And as a development organization, we are there to actually support government. So we are not here to stay. Our work as SNV is to ensure that we support farmers to overcome the blockages within the sector. Like we said, how do you ensure that you've got a better price for milk?
The project, launched in 2016 and sponsored by the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, aimed to address the myriad of challenges faced by Ugandan dairy farmers, hindering their transition from traditional cattle keeping to more lucrative dairy farming.
As DDA, we are looking at increasing domestic consumption of milk. Of course, this has a spiral effect in terms of incomes, in terms of even employing the youth, because it is really something that is big. We are really taking it up, the school feeding milk program, and all other avenues that we have to make sure that we improve the domestic consumption of milk.
The issues confronting these farmers included inadequate water supply, substandard forages, outdated fodder production technology, a shortage of skilled labor, fluctuating milk prices, and a lack of practical knowledge among the cattle keepers, compounded by climate-related challenges.
So these people came in, for example, at a time when most of the producers of milk were concentrating on our local breeds. And then they transitioned to the dairy breeds, like the heifers. But unfortunately, they only bought the dairy breeds. They didn't know how to manage the dairy breeds.
Over the course of the TIDE project, significant strides were made in overcoming these challenges. This initiative also resulted in a remarkable 58% increase in milk volumes purchased under the quality-based payment systems by processors, signaling improved overall milk quality and production. Wadulo Makanold for UBC Business Roundup. The relaunch of MV Umoja onto the Lake Victoria water transport routes provides opportunities for Uganda's exporters and importers to boost the utilization of the Central Corridor route. It is for this reason that a business delegation from Tanzania is in the country to meet and brainstorm with various stakeholders on the operationalization of the Wagon Ferry.
A Tanzanian delegation led by Eric Hamisi, the managing director of the Marine Services Company Limited, have been in Uganda for stakeholder engagement geared at boosting water transport between the Lake Victoria Port of Manza and Port Bell in Luzira, a Kampala suburb. The meeting follows the recent relaunch of the rehabilitated MV Umoja on the route.
The whole essence of business is minimize cost and maximize revenue, not profit, revenue. And maybe serving better by having timely delivery of raw material and finished products wherever you want to take them. So we are going to solve all these two issues, which are the major components in business undertaking. The cost, as well said by yourself, that ships are the most affordable mode of transport across the globe.
The resumption of the ferry is hailed by Uganda's private sector body and freight and logistics players. As promised, they expect the vessel to increase efficiency in transporting large cargo volume at once and at an affordable price.
Just in case of a fire on board, or in case of a leakage and there is a spill in the water, do you have the teams to handle that?
I know Umoja have that sprinkler system in place, and we used to use it and test it. And fortunately, when I was a commander, and I think up to now, they have not get such a calamity.
We have capacity to do so much more on these waters. So we were even having other people come and bring more ferries because they feel the capacity is not enough.
Although the roll-on, roll-off wagon ferry is of great relief to the exporters and importers who utilize the Central Corridor, concerns of high cost of transportation are raised.
We are doing 90% of our cargo movement on road, and we pay about $1.8 US dollars per kilometer. $1.8 per kilometer, I think, something like that. And when it should be actually about $1. You can already see that we are 80% more expensive, whether in terms of what we export or in terms of what we import in the country.
According to the officials from the Marine Services Company Limited, the company will transport cargo at competitive prices and at a shorter transit time, which will consequently lower the cost of doing business in the entire region. Dennis Sigoa for the Business Roundup.
UN Women has signed 2 MOUs, one with the East African Business Council and the other with the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, in a bid to advocate for gender equality and women's empowerment in trade, tax regimes and investment, among other objectives.
What we are going to do with this MOU, I've mentioned a number of things. I've mentioned, like, for instance, digital inclusion. Digital inclusion, if you compare men to women, women are lagging behind as far as digital inclusion is concerned. So that's why we have this as one area of cooperative advantage with our colleagues from East Africa Business Community to make sure that we promote women. They are also part of the digital inclusion.
And so when we look at economic violence, we're really talking about issues around women's access to opportunities, women's access to resources, and this certainly is linked to what we are talking about here today. When women cannot access land, when women cannot access financial resources, when women cannot have control over their labor, the 70% of the labor in Uganda, which is predominantly an agricultural country, is provided by women. We have had enterprises that have targeted women, but when it is time for harvesting, the women sometimes do not even touch this money. If they do, it's forcefully taken away from them. So by having these conversations and having this MOU, we will be talking about joint decision-making at the family level. We will be talking about the need for women and men to live in harmony so that they can improve their livelihoods at the household level and raise their families in prosperity and consequently contribute to the economic development of the country.
When you look at our cross-border, 70% of small traders at our borders are women. They are women selling different products, agricultural products, manufactured products, and different others even selling airtime. They are working a lot. But the environment at the border conducive for them. In most cases, you find that they are harassed. They are harassed by different officials. But the good thing in East Africa, our leaders have recognized that these women are putting food on the table, so they need to be facilitated. So what we have done at the EAC level, we've initiated a program called Simplified Trade Regime for Women. If your goods are less than $2,000 they are not supposed to be subjected to customs procedures.
Okay. One of the things that we have talked about is the need to create good working spaces for women. Good market space is not just where to sell. It's more than that. There is infrastructure like bathrooms, there is infrastructure like child care facilities, and I'll ask my colleague to expound on that issue. We are now in the advocacy space to ensure that we get as many women in the best working environments for business.
This collaboration aims to support and promote women entrepreneurs, providing them with resources, mentorship, and networks necessary for success. We also know that innovation is key to sustainable development. So by harnessing the creativity and dynamism of the private sector, we can develop innovative solutions that address gender disparities, that promote diversity, and contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Please look this way.
The NFT Mobility Project implementation has come to an end after 3 years. Through the lead farm approach, the NFT Mobility Project that was launched at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic has provided work for young people as providers of professional mobility solutions.
In the 3-year period of its implementation, the NFT Mobility Project has had a positive impact to communities. This initiative is supported by the Private Sector Foundation Uganda and MasterCard Foundation under Enhancing Lead Farm Structure for Youth Employment Program.
If I'm trying to help a young man to get a job, right, and all I want to say is I want to get him a job, I must understand the situation he's in today. The situation he's in today is not that I don't have a job. Situation he's in is probably I don't have where to live, I don't have transport, I don't have a uniform. He doesn't have very many things. Now, when you understand that, which is what we've shown as a beneficiary context, and you're able to now start fixing those bits, then those ambitions are achievable.
Areas of impact include increased access to dignified employment, gender mainstreaming in the automotive industry facilitated access to finance and entrepreneurship development, among others. According to PSFU, at least 500 million shillings was invested in the project.
So for us, that's an amazing result. That what started as a simple experiment has led to young people getting new work opportunities within the border space. We're also even more excited to see that close to 150 of those are young women that have been given an opportunity to penetrate principally or traditionally male-dominated industry.
As it comes to an end, the implementers are convinced it achieved its intended objectives. This is despite being unveiled at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
By the way, smartphone.
NFT project helped me a lot. I didn't even know anything about using a smartphone. They trained us to use smartphones and how to ride motorcycles in Kampala. What excited me most is the reception I received as a woman when I went to NFT. They told me they were going to give me a phone because we were going to work through the Uber app.
Because in the smartphone.
Overall, the project created 571 job opportunities for young delivery associates aged between 18 and 35 years.
Our delivery associates can earn up to 1.2 million a month, which if I gave any of us 1.2 million, I don't think anybody would say I don't need it. It can do something for you in your life. Yeah? So to get a person and give them an opportunity to earn up to 1.2 million is not something small. And we thank NFT for finding these people and bridging the gap for us, which is the lack of a bike and the lack of a phone.
The initiative highlights skills development training and improves employment among youth. Dennis Igoa for the Business Roundup.
Also in our corporate wrap this week, UN Women and Partners marked the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence in commemoration of this year's International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls and Human Rights Day, all at once, under the theme, Unite, Invest and Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls.
We are trying really to contribute to human capital development, among others, as well as access to universal sexual reproductive health. For us, having a society that is free of gender at the end of the day means that we're able, actually, as Uganda, we're able to tap into that particular resource, which is almost half of the population, to allow Uganda really to achieve its Vision 2040 and become an upper middle income country. And that cannot be achieved if violence persists in society, because as long as violence is there, that means that the obstacles that women and girls are facing, preventing them really from contributing productively to society, will persist and remain.
And we see that there is a misunderstanding, I would say, of what it means to be a father sometimes, a husband, a partner. But we also see that maybe gender-based violence is somehow changing character. It's not always about physical violence, it can be sexual harassment, it can be harassment online. So I think we have to really make sure that everyone understands what gender-based violence could look like.
And that's why one of our strategies of addressing, tackling gender-based violence is having change of harmful norms. Those who can manage to invest financial resources, those who can manage to invest their technical expertise, like here at the university, we are asking all the young people, the young men, to reach out to other young men around the university, but even outside the university. Invest your time to tackle issues of gender-based violence. Thank you.
The commitments by the world's wealthiest nations opens the doors for more pledges and other compromises to be made in the next 2 weeks However, some groups have raised concerns over how the Loss and Damage Fund will be financed in the future.
People here are hailing it as a landmark step. This is the first executive the funding that has been raised, about $260 million from very few countries, yes, but it is essential to put the operation in place and start implementing the executive part of that fund. Now, the fund needs a lot of money. The Egyptian COP champion, one of the main negotiators in COP27 who have put loss and damage on the agenda and has been implementing the agreement of the COP, the loss and damage fund, he says that one of the studies indicate that at least $150 billion is required for that fund every year. So it's a significant step, but still it is a step in the right direction, and that's why it has been quite supported as COP begins its operation here in Dubai.
The festive season is finally here, and Kampala Serena Hotel is partnering with Smart Girls Foundation Uganda to support underprivileged school-going children by inviting the general public to buy their crafted school bags made of reusable food packaging materials. This was announced at the hotel as they lit their Christmas tree to usher in the festivities of Christmas. Enjoy this in our Sounds of Business.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on one horse open sleigh.
Today marks the first day of December, and which also marks the end of the year, the beginning of the end of the year. Like James said, today we are marking the lighting of the tree. You know, the lighting of the tree is a ceremony that is associated with the birth of Christ and the resurrection, which brought light to the world, those of us who are Christians. But more importantly, this is a month and the marking of giving, gratitude, and gifting. The 3 G's: gifting, giving, and gratitude. For us, as the Kampala Serena Hotel, we are ready to receive and help you celebrate the festivities in the coming days. Our chefs have prepared fantastic menus. We have beautiful accommodation packages, and we also ready to take your bespoke event, an event that is off the menu. But more importantly, we'll be putting these bags on sale, and when you buy one of these bags, you'll be going to support somebody who is needed. Like I said, this is a month of giving, gifting, and if you expect to receive, you also expect it to give.
The bag is 100,000 only, so you can buy it for yourself to donate to another young person, or to make sure Serena gives it to another young person, a child, to stay in school. So when you come here, just go to the reception and you ask that I want to donate or buy a bag.
What's the kind of waste do you normally recycle to get that?
These are sugar sacks, flour sacks, rice sacks. So they do not throw them in the community. They actually give them at our training center where we make these beautifulness. My girl in electrical and tailoring recycle this and actually make this beautiful, amazing bag.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
It's been a pleasure serving you some of the top business stories that happened within this week. Once again, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Weekly Business Roundup. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold. Catch us on the next same time, same place. From the team, we must say good night.